We're going to open our continued public meeting for site plan application for 8 Mohawk Drive, map 323, parcel 68910, warehouse addition. Do we have someone here to present this plan?
Yes, so my name is Jonathan Collette. I'm with Haley Ward, representing TC Realty LLC. This is 8 Mohawk Drive, and if you recall, we are proposing a warehouse addition. And I believe the only outstanding items we had was the architectural elevations, which we had provided to the board.
Do you have a copy?
I also have 11 by 17s if you want to hand them out.
I have a big one if you want to
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So the warehouse addition is a pre-engineered metal warehouse. This is looking from Nashua Street. We have the 3 loading docks, a man door, and a dumpster area.
I've got a question on the elevation.
Yep.
Go ahead, John.
Is it really 123 feet high?
That's the building that's there today, is it 123, or? I know what he's,
No,
what John said, I see it, John.
I just think to see the steeple.
Right.
It's a 10-story building.
Correct.
Are you asking the height of?
He's asking on the bottom,
The elevation,
on
how
the
tall is the
bottom
building?
elevation count is 123 feet.
Yeah, but it says it's 100 feet to the slab.
That's like a
It's
skyscraper.
12 feet three.
So I think they used 100 feet just as the baseline, and then 23 feet would be the height.
So it's 23 feet above grade.
Yes.
John, did you get that?
No, I can hear him.
Okay.
It's 23 feet.
But that door is in between the grades, so it's
It
half
says
below ground and
123.
half above.
Sorry, was it?
It
It
says
says
elevation
123.
100 above it also.
Your loading docks?
Here's the 100. If you, yeah, but if
Look down on
It says
the,
100.
look at the front elevation and you can see the ground falls away from right to left.
So these loading docks would be about 4 feet above grade, right there. That makes a lot more sense.
So the slab is 100 feet, but it's not a 100-foot slab.
No,
The elevation
The
there is
elevation,
100
yeah, just as a baseline, 100 foot.
We're looking at elevation.
100 feet above sea level.
Maybe.
It's not actually, that's just what the architect used as a baseline.
Oh, he used 100 as a
Nothing
baseline,
wrong with
so
that.
he's only saying it's 12.3 feet above baseline, the building? Is that what he's saying? Or 23 feet?
23 feet, yeah, the top of the roof. Like the steel.
Yes.
What does 100 feet mean?
It's really an arbitrary value. It could be 0, it could be 1. It's just what the architect decided to use to show grade.
But it,
Is that above sea level?
Can't be.
No, because you're at
No, John.
No.
50 there.
He said it was an arbitrary number.
No such thing.
I don't know, I mean, it's the question's for the answer.
so,
Yeah, I mean, the actual grade.
I mean, John, the loading dock isn't 100 feet off the ground. I hope not.
Well, I know that. Well, the loading dock is, they extend the slab is at 100, and then they go to 119.
Right,
Now,
so
that's,
19
you know,
feet.
that's what I'm saying, it doesn't make sense.
The 119
What
is
is
the
that a
warehouse.
reference to what?
The 19 feet is for the warehouse. The 23 is for the building. Right?
Yeah, well, I'm also thinking they're not going to build this where they can't practically utilize it either, right?
Yeah.
So we show the building
I'm
at
seeing that.
328 feet above sea level, going down to 324 as you move south.
So it's not above sea level.
The 320, what we show on our site plan is.
Yeah,
Is that supposed to be 11 feet 9 inches?
no, it's supposed to be 23 feet.
23 feet.
Something.
On
So
the,
this
on,
would-
on the right-hand side right here, 23 feet from the ground.
23 feet?
This right end of the building
19,
would
19 feet
That's
from
right.
the loading dock to the roof.
this would be 328 elevation going down to 324. So this dark line's grade, that's why it slopes. Slopes down. This side of the building will be 23 feet to the top of the steel. And this side, 19. The pitch of the roof goes south.
Yeah.
Move the water this way to the basin.
So 123 from one end to
To
down
the-
to
to
19, so you got a 4-foot drop over
Yep.
the length of the building.
Yes.
I'm sorry that we're hung
Is it,
up on
I believe it's 23.
Yeah, that's what it is, John.
Just in.
It's 23 down to 19.
Correct.
We just chose to start at 100 feet,
Yes.
0.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Anything else, Sean?
That's all I had.
Okay. Thank you. I'll continue. You got anything else?
That's all I have here, so I'm gonna
That's from the last meeting?
That was it, right, Elizabeth?
I thought John had a question about landscaping. John, did you have a question about landscaping?
Wasn't there, what they asking?
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing, that's a big, I know the parking is right there too. That's a relatively long building. Can they do something about, either arborvitae's or something against the building to sort of break it up?
So we show,
I know our landscaping plan for industrial is nil. I mean, maybe we have a
we
neighbor
show,
policy here of some kind.
we do show proposed landscaping along Nashua Street with a mixture of shade trees and shrubs.
John, it looks like they have about 10, 11 trees and shrubs in between along the,
On Nashua?
on National
Yeah,
Street.
and there's nothing there now,
Along
it's
the
just
perimeter of
grass.
the parking lot and the building.
Yeah, okay.
Does anyone, before we open up to the audience, anyone on the board have any questions?
Was there anything else outstanding outside of the elevation? I don't think so from last
No,
meeting.
that was, the board's concerns from the last meeting were that you received building elevations.
Yeah, because we held that up. Yep. John, you can mute.
Anyone in the audience have any questions about 8 Mohawk Drive? Questions, comments, criticisms? No?
Questions on height?
If
On elevation? On sea level?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
Motion made and second to close the hearing. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser. Sal Chaconi.
Yes.
John Souza.
Yeah,
Tom Kergnen, excused. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Dean Valier, excused. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes.
That's good.
Okay, 6:38, we'll open up our, thank you so much. Open up our public information meeting for site plan application for 840 North Main Street, map 153, parcel 206A, reconfigure parking area.
You got anything,
Yes.
Oh, I have it, thank you.
Yes.
Good to go?
I'm Ryan Johnston, the Director of Facilities and Capital Projects for the Montezuma Regional Transit Authority. With me is our technical representative from Weston Sampson, Melissa Pack. We're here to discuss the parking lot expansion that we have planned for the facility. Recently, we've gone ahead and refurbished the entire facility. For those of you that remember, this was Rick Starr back in the day. It's now a brokerage center that handles roughly 83% of non-emergency medical transportation for the state of Massachusetts. We have a state-of-the-art call center in the facility, and as such, we need to upgrade the parking. Existing parking roughly has about 15 spots. We now have 46 employees that we house and employ at that facility. So this is basically an expansion to accommodate that. I'll turn it over to Alyssa for technicals, and then any questions you guys have.
Thank you. So just to orient you, just to orient everyone, the address is 840 North Main Street. It's flanked by North Main Street, Nichols Street, and then Millette Ave. It's also adjacent to the Fitchburg and Leominster city line. And the site's identified by the star on the page. So some existing site photos that'll hopefully get your bearings when we turn into the 2D version of the plans. So this is a perspective taken from North Main Street. To the left is the drive aisle into what is the bus wash area for the building. And buses circulate one way into the building and then come out through the overhead doors that are shown in the center picture. And then to the right is where the bulk of those 15 spaces are located. As just to point out that the perspective of this picture is taken down on Nichols Street, so you can kind of get a sense of the grading challenges that we had as we approached the design. The street grades are significantly lower than the site grades themselves. So additionally, you can also see how close the parking is to the street as well. So there are some additional spaces along both Nichols Street and Millette Ave. So those spaces add up to total around 38 spaces currently, but it's largely informal for those. You can kind of get a sense of the pavement as well. It's not in good shape, and the grade from Nichols and then up to those spaces along the building are pretty steep as well.
And just to kind of get some context while Alyssa puts the next one up, the Nichols Street and Millette, a lot of that's the leftover from when Rick Starr was there, so it's pretty much unusable in its current condition. So this is not only gonna help us get some actual employee parking, but it's also gonna improve the area. We're gonna be adding a sidewalk off Nichols Street where there currently is no pedestrian access. We just have people walking up against the road, and obviously they're pretty much in the road because of how steep the grade is. So it kind of serves a dual purpose in terms of why we get to do that.
Okay, so this is the existing conditions plan. So the red line here is the property line, and then the blue highlighted line is the 25-foot front setback requirement for a commercially zoned property. Some things to note is the existing parking is actually over the property line. And obviously, several spots are actually located within that front setback requirement. So the overflow, so he noted that the spaces, the employees are somewhere approaching 50 employees now, and with only 38 spots, the overflow parking is actually across the street at their headquarters building in Fitchburg. So employees are having to walk along Nichols Street where there's no formal sidewalk, no pedestrian circulation. So the goals of the project are to improve that. Another thing to note too is that these drive aisles are around 17 feet in width, so they're not conforming right now. All right, so here's the proposed plan. Again, the red line is the property line and the blue line is the setback. So we've brought the parking back to within the property limits. As you can see here, there's a limited available footprint for the property. So in order to achieve the goal of having additional parking, we've requested waivers for the front setback requirement, for the landscaping buffer, as well as for the accommodations for bicycle racks. So we have added 12 additional spots. The notable changes are in front of the bus wash area. We're making better use of the driveway and adding parking on either side. There was little that we could do with this area as far as adding parking if we wanted to have proper circulation aisle width and proper space sizes, as well as the ADA compliant spaces. We've also made the Nichols Street entrance, which is currently a two-way, we've made that a one-way out. Historically, vehicles have used that as a cutoff through the property to avoid the light at Nichols Street and North Main Street. We've also added a sidewalk along the Nichols Street spaces as well to provide safe pedestrian circulation for the employees. So stormwater, actually not flipping the page, so for stormwater, we've actually reduced the impervious area on site. We've added landscaping along the building, and with this additional green space, and even with the additional parking that we added, it actually reduces the impervious area. We're utilizing all of the catch basins that are existing now, and so we've requested a waiver for the stormwater management evaluation. As it relates to the traffic impact statement, we're not adding more spaces to add more people. We're just trying to move folks from the Water Street overflow parking into here, so we're not introducing new vehicles to the area. So we've requested a waiver for the traffic
And has it
impact
cut
statement.
down on your snow storage, or you still have plenty of snow
So the
storage
snow
on site?
storage is identified by this hatch here, and it's difficult to see, but we've provided the the 5% requirement for parking and loading areas.
And can you talk a little, yeah, it looks like all the department heads, and I'll go through those quickly.
The fire department?
Fire, the only issue seemed to be with the fire department, but I think we resolved it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so there are questions, there were 3 questions. One had related to how snow storage is gonna be handled. I actually had a Teams call with them where we shared the screen. I spoke with Deputy Chief Kim, and showed them where the snow storage would be going. They also had concerns over the 13-foot one-way through this area. But I know that it met a requirement that they have access within 50 feet of the building, even if they have to stop the vehicles here, but obviously they can get closer to the building, and access over here would be achieved through Nichols Street, and with that.
Yeah.
They've sent an update to the fire department.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, and just for the record, let me just, police approved. Elizabeth, did you have any specific,
I noted in my memo where waivers were required, but I've listed at the very front, all 10 waivers.
okay. And Board of Health approves.
Conservation, I think.
Conservation.
Diverse trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, reverse.
Thanks, Paul. I don't know why I'm not getting the
Diverse.
That's very definitive, isn't it?
We can accommodate that.
There's a follow-up fire.
I know. So building approved, I have it now, yes, yes, fire, and you resolved that. Conservation. What was looking for a diversity of trees.
Where are you gonna put trees?
So the trees that were, we did, I don't have it on this plan, but there were some arborvitae shown there, as well as some trees in this area for screening, and then just some low shrubbery over there, and they're just low maintenance,
I mean, the
things that
area,
don't shed.
the area is pretty limited in terms
Yeah.
of space
Yeah,
use,
it
so.
is. You don't want to dig up the huge sidewalks.
DPW approves, assessor approves.
It's good.
So I feel it's good, and all bus traffic will still remain inside the building.
Correct, yeah, all the
Yeah, the
buses
operation.
use the main way.
The operation
in and out.
stays as is,
Correct.
just reconfiguration. Well, it looks better, that's for sure.
Sure, it's a lot of money for 12 spots. That's still a good, that's still a good deal.
I know. Board, any other comments? I'll open up to the audience. Anyone have any comments about North Main Street?
There's still plenty of trees up on the Nichols North Main.
Right, yeah, we got it right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Carol?
Yes, John, I forgot about you, Charlie, yes.
That's what only question I got is, on the new parking lot, on the North Main Street side, the last maybe just the last one, if somebody was to come in there, or if a truck was to come in, if they to make that left turn, I don't think there's enough turn. I think that last, not the last two, but I think that last spot should be just not a parking place, just a crosshatch, so.
It's not a spot.
So he's
Because
talking-
you only got 24 feet, most trucks are longer, so you gotta start making that turn, and you don't have a lot of room there.
He's talking
I don't know where he's-
John,
He's talking 20
John.
feet right here.
John, are you talking about the 13 feet width
the
area or?
top right or the top left of
13
the?
feet, correct.
Because the 13 feet.
Especially if we're gonna have
So
snow,
That's not
storage
intended.
there, that's gonna encroach.
I think he's talking about
Good.
fire truck.
We don't know. The fire department already, responded to the 13 feet for the turn radius, John. They were in approval with that. So is that the area you're talking about, or is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So they've already
If
said,
they
no, we've
approve
got
it,
enough.
that's the only thing I question. I think that one parking place should be taken out, just be a crosshatch.
But you said
I
that
don't even see a parking space.
the truck is within, the
Yeah,
building is within the
when I spoke with him, he
required-
cited a regulation, I don't wanna misspeak, but it had something to do with being within needing to be
Yes.
within 50 feet to, the building itself, so even if you were forced to stop here, you would still technically be within 50 feet.
Given the fact that they have access all
Right.
the way up to literally
So
the
you just
center
said,
of the
John,
area.
he approves the attached plan without modification, the aerial ladder to the roof, even with the 13-foot access way, is fine. So that's what they were looking for, and they get the ladder all over
Okay.
the building. And he's good with all of that. He signed off. Hey, you just leave the ladder
That's
flat.
the other problem with typically.
And that's not, is that a real parking space? Or is-
No, this is
No,
a
it's
drive-through
a
and this is a parking spot right here.
Right.
So they have 13 feet to make that turn, so any passenger car will be perfectly through.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, that was just for the fire trucks. You're not taking any deliveries that way.
No, nothing's
No.
coming
Nothing
through here
goes
except
that way.
for, just passenger cars going to
Just
that direction.
passenger cars, and that's just the fire department access.
Yeah, all of our deliveries, they come right up to the main door, we open the overhead doors,
Yep.
so.
So just for the record, I'll read Deputy Chief Campagna's last comment. I just reviewed all options with the chief. He approves the attached plan without modification because we'll still have plenty of access to get to the aerial ladder to the roof, even with the 13-foot access way. We approve the attached plan. Just for the
Okay.
record.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments about North Main Street?
Move to close the hearing?
Second.
Motion made by Paul, second by, I'm gonna give it
So
to,
you give it to Pat.
I'm gonna give it to Pat.
I would too.
Pat, you said-
I might give him the motion to adjourn too, so we'll see.
No,
if
no,
Rick
no,
gets-
no, well, I gave it, you gave it to us, I gave it to Paul.
Motion made, second.
My first ever.
All those in favor, roll call vote.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
Yes.
Sal Chaconi.
Yes.
John Souza.
Right,
Aye.
Tom Kergnen.
yes.
Tom Kergnen.
No, that's Sean being fresh.
Excuse. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Dean Valier.
I think it was
Excuse.
good.
Carol Vittorioso.
Yes.
John voted for it.
I know, it was
Thank
good.
you, thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it,
Looks
thank you
good.
very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, have a good night.
Right.
Two.
Going to open our public information meeting for site plan application at 10 Jungle Road, map 300, parcel 13A, bank with drive-through, restaurant with drive-through and retail.
Is it all right? Good evening, everyone. Jacob Desso with Stonefield Engineering Design. I'm representing the applicant. Just to orientate everyone with the property location, we're located at 10 Jungle. Just for orientations, you have the cover page that was submitted as part of the package. We have Walmart just to our west, kind of our landmark location for this. We have Tiffany Jungle, go on the west side of the parcel. And then Route 17 getting into I-190, heading north and south. So you can see where the property is located. It's within the commercial district, along with all the properties. We're gonna say north of the parcel. Everything south of it's within the multi-use, which actually the adjoining property is actually owned by the city. You can see that the property actually sits behind the existing medical facility, so we're somewhat screened from what's happening at the signalized intersection that feeds the Walmart, the Aldi, and leads to Harbor Freight nearby. All this being said, we've done a lot of work coming up to this point. To be in front of you, we've been at multiple technical review committees to come up with what we think is going to be the most effective plan, not only in this corridor, but for our tenants, and I think that they kind of interplays with what we do in this site. I like to think the application really has three components to it. Because we're at that signalized intersection, I'm just gonna flip sheet C4 and the submitted plans, just simply showing an aerial with the intersection, the existing medical use, proposed development, over right on top of that. The three components, really the proposed sign at that signalized intersection, which identifies the property to anyone going up Route 117, feeding into the property, and then our two buildings actually on the site. It's important to note that because as you go down the grade change actually heading southbound, we stay consistent really with the medical office, but as you go down into the interchange, the elevation changes. You can't see the property, so you have a commercial property that cannot be seen. So what the applicant has done is looked at the
I mean, the
uses.
grade going up to 190.
You take the southbound, you're heading down into the actual interchange. The property will sit higher than the actual right of way on the actual connection. So we're sitting a little bit higher, Walmart, again, just orientation, all that's beside us. Really, 10 Jungle ends up being at Feeder Road for Jungle. The use we're proposing is a bank, which is, we'll call it destination, or what I like to really think of as it's gonna be part of our errands that you run on any given day. You're not just gonna go to the bank, you'll probably do that with the Starbucks, which is being proposed on the property, and potentially other tenants. So it's gonna be a mixture of uses on the property. Overall, the two buildings, just to get into those, it's a 4,422 square foot building, split into two separate uses. The smaller portion being on the right side will be the retail use. That's spec, it'll be a actual retail use that's gonna interact with the Starbucks and the proposed bank user. As I said before, the bank's on the left side of this multi-tenant building. From a site circulation standpoint, we're expecting most of the customers to enter the site. Again, it's through Jungle. We're expecting a lot of these people, these are passerby, or these are gonna be destination uses after someone else has gone to the Walmart, they'll take the cash, or vice versa. You'll enter into Jungle, you'll enter into the 30-foot drive aisle. 24 is the minimum, we've actually extended that out a little bit more, so there's ease of entrance into the two drive-through lanes. We've configured the site generally for we'll call it the more intensive uses, when we look at it from a planning standpoint, the drive-through uses in a counterclockwise configuration around the property. So for the Starbucks, which is from a traffic generation standpoint, is the higher generator, we have over 20 cars queued into that lane, so plenty of room, wrapping pretty much the entire perimeter of the property. That's contained with actually in the drive-through lane. We also have
It's gonna be really marked out well.
so it'll be marked out very well. We have this is actually a 30-foot drive aisle, so it's oversized. There'll be signals. Starbucks has their own branding, two directionals going into the actual drive-through facility. There's a bypass lane going to the bank's drive-through, and then we have the ATM pickup for the bank. So all the drive-through uses, all the flow from, even if you did miss your turn, you're still directed through the property. You can easily make it back into the drive-through if you do make a mistake. So from an on-site circulation standpoint, this works very well for having two, we'll call it drive-through or drive-up configurations. So plenty of queuing, plenty of stacking on the parcel. As far as parking, there's 47 parking spaces on site, 39 are required by code, ample parking. From the landscaping, we're proposing 18 trees spread around the property. We do comply with all area landscaping, so I think 10% is required for the property. We're at 19, so we're almost doubling what's required. And then wherever we can, we're placing those trees. So it's about 12 trees per acre around the property. As far as snow storage, I believe that was one of the comments that came up in the planning letter. Located on the, we'll call it the northeast and northwest side of the property, pushed away from either uses. Ample number of parking spaces, so in a case there is a large snowfall event, which we had the 5% dedicated for those two areas, there's still areas that we could actually dedicate to use snow storage within the parking space without interfering with compliance with the zoning code.
How about on the line of sight, if you're gonna have a big bank of snow at the end? and you
So
have to
this
take
is
that
gonna be,
outside?
this is gonna be the primary, we'll call it storage point, easy push all the way across the property. From a visual standpoint, it's really not gonna be blocking
I'll
it.
just-
There's a small portion here as well. Again, 30-foot drive aisles, I don't think it's gonna interfere with a lot of the in movements going to the property. So we think there's enough snow storage on the parcel. It's modern, and I'm just gonna flip to more of a zoomed in version. It's just C5 on the plans. Just kind of focusing in on the actual site itself. It is important to note that we actually do have two frontages. We have a small sliver on Jungle Road, and then we have, let's say, the vast majority of our frontage on, it's really Interstate 190, it's the on-ramp. There's no way we can get access on there without federal grants, that is not happening. However, it is considered part of our frontage for the property. I think this is one thing we will have to clarify in the application. There will be a waiver request because the trash enclosure located within that front yard and the topographic grade change, we cannot meet the 15 feet required in that location. Everywhere else, we are complying. The rear side of the property, as we're looking at it, there is a fence. It was requested that maybe that the applicant work with the town as far as actually planting arborvitae's on the south side. The applicant is at this time going to keep as much as they can on their property where they can. Again, they drive, bypass lane on the south side. So if someone was to mistakenly get into this lane, decide they didn't want to wait, they can easily get through. So again, proper site circulation all the way through. There's two dumpsters located, one for the actual dedicated for the Starbucks use, easy access to and from, and then one for the, we'll call it lower trash generators on the south west side of the multi-tenant building, easy access to in and out. Modern shopping center, we will have lights. They'll be mounted at 24 feet. There's approximately 9 of them. Area lights, all the area lights are downlit, outside shielded, so everything is directed inwards. They're not all dark sky combined. There are a few accent lights around the building, just amplifying some of the architectural features. I wasn't submitted, I can bring up the elevations of what this thing is gonna look like. As far as it's gonna be several different materials, as far as EFIS, Nichia siding, and then some CMU brick block. Consistent between both the Starbucks and the multi-tenant shopping center, so this is just flipping over. This was one of the requests, I think within the review letters that were submitted to us, there were several, most of them requesting some additional information, but most of them generally approving it. Other than some of the minor information, you can see this is the multi-tenant shopping center. This would be the face as if you were pulling in or looking at the property. If you came in from Walmart, you see the property, and then just for consistency's sake, this is the Starbucks, no branding shown here, but you can see general consistency between the two buildings. You will have a cohesive development when it's all said and done. Just playing on those uses, once again, I do think because we have 47 parking spaces, the way the lot is configured, plenty of parking spaces, gonna have a situation where we have shared parking. We have different, we'll call it peak users. Bank's gonna peak a little bit differently than a Starbucks will. We do think that what the applicant is doing, coupled with the sign, is really making this property a very developable site. When you have such a commercial property that's zone commercial, set away from where there's a signalized intersection. So we think everything we're doing here is in line with the city's master plan, and really it's gonna be a good development moving forward.
Through the chair, if I could.
Yes.
I'd just like to talk about traffic.
So let's get right into traffic, because I think that's the biggest thing for this.
Can you bring us back to the top view, please? I gotta tell you,
While we talk about
traffic, the projections in your map.
What's that?
The projections in your map.
Why is that?
So your assumption that you stated was that it's, most of the trips are gonna be already coming to the area.
Correct.
Except that almost nothing in that area is open at 7 o'clock in the morning when you're gonna have your people out in the morning.
So when we ran the analysis, what we did is we took a look at what's happening on the existing road. So when we took a look at this development, we sat down.
I know the road.
Right, we sat down with the technical review committee, with the mayor, understanding what's happening up Downs Court. Each one of these signals was anticipated for a traffic demand for this intersection. The grand scheme of things, there are existing traffic, on this highway that are not gonna change because of development. It's gonna be, when it comes to the amount of trips that we're generating versus what's already there, it's gonna be, it's a de minimis amount. Now, going to Jungle Road, there will be an increase, there is no denying that. I think some of the letters that came in there regarding, call it collisions, we looked at that, we actually took a look at those collisions at that intersection that the police department wanted us to take a look at. Most of them actually were in the parking lot that was happening at Walmart.
Again, we submitted something for a grant review on this last year, because that's a high accident intersection already, because the way the traffic lanes go into Walmart instead of onto the road, and then you got people coming out, crossing it, because there's no actual lines for that. So I'm gonna disagree that there aren't problems on the road itself, but I just wanna go back to your estimates that Walmart opens at 6 o'clock, there's 0 people there at 7 o'clock in the morning. The Tractor Supply is not open at 7 o'clock, the medical office is not open at 7 o'clock, the dentist is not open at 7 o'clock, it will be you and you alone. So the idea that there are gonna be 28 trips per hour at that hour, that peak hour in the morning, it's just, that's the fantasy. And that's not existing traffic, that's your traffic.
But the only thing, and I'm only playing devil's advocate to make sure we have all the information, the only facility that would be open would be Starbucks.
Right.
Okay.
And so again, if we're coming from the assumption that most people coming there are already coming there anyway, and we'll just make an additional stop there, I'm just suggesting that's not reality, because there's nothing there.
So all the numbers that were submitted to you
What time does
were in line
Walmart
with Nashville.
They open at 6, but there's nobody there at that time of the morning.
Employees.
Employees.
Picking up, well, there's a donkeys in there.
Right, so from all the numbers that were submitted, they're all in line with national averages. You know, these are what's submitted across the country when we look at trip generation and analysis throughout the quarter. So we looked at this, again, he was looking at the intersection here at Jungle and Route 117 at this intersection. We are not disagreeing the fact that there will be more trips going through. We'll agree, it's a unconventional Y-axis or, intersection where it comes through. To your point though, no one else is open. So when we're peaking, no other trips are really looking at this. So, we get the concern, but as far as the accidents that I think were identified, again, majority of which we pulled were in the Walmart parking lot, not at this intersection. The applicant can propose potential striping if that works, because I don't think, regardless of what happens here, it'll fix that intersection. No matter what happens, we could quadruple the size of the Starbucks from a trip generation standpoint, that will not change that intersection in its configuration. This intersection here has plenty of capacity. This is not the issue. I think it's been all lined up. Every signal along the corridor has been lined up to ensure that traffic flows in there as much as possible. I believe there were several other larger projects than this to ensure that was happening so everyone can get up and down the corridor. So that's, again, part of the need for this sign is if you miss this, you're missing the property completely.
I still think a traffic study would be warranted to see what the impact would be, because I just don't think these numbers are.
So the traffic study, what's gonna happen, if, the applicant, with the conversations that we've had with them, don't think it's warranted actually at this location, because if we do this, basically the peer review is gonna say, the study was done within, industry standards, and they'll probably come to the same situation where nothing that we're gonna do is going to impact the issue, which is probably this intersection here. And that being said, is that once it comes during the day, we're expecting the cross access. So there are options, I think, on the table for the board to, we'll call it, calm some of that traffic, some of those issues, as much as possible with whoever's jurisdiction it can be. We could propose something here. There could be, and I believe the correct location would be somewhere in this location here. We could do a pedestrian crossing that would potentially, alert everyone to the intersection. But as far as doing a full traffic study, I don't think it's gonna change the issue. That's kind of where we're at is from the applicant side of things.
I disagree. Okay. I've had my say.
All right, well, we could talk about that at the end. Board members, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, so looking at the lot. Yeah, sure, please. Yeah, perfect. So looking at the lot, you were describing snow storage on the top left and right.
Here?
and looking at the lanes, on the bottom left, I see 3 lanes. And no, the bottom left,
What are we talking about?
right here, we've got 3 lanes.
3 lanes, yep.
Divided by curbing and raised traffic islands. And so we're talking about a snowplow pushing snow through a single lane all the way around the building.
This area is covered, by the way, so the
Okay.
snow actual on this location will
Okay.
be a little bit less than,
Yep. Okay.
you know, the main parking field.
I mean, just observation, it is what it is, I guess, but
There's a little bit of space.
I'm imagining a snowplow bouncing off of that curbing there. And then the other thing that I see is, on the bottom right of this building, we've got one-way traffic feeding into a 2-way lane there.
So we actually put a stop control here, so it's, you'll stop here and then be able to continue all the way through, so anything,
And which one is the Starbucks on this map?
that's right.
Far right, yep.
You can see it's just inwardly facing a little parking field. There will be an outdoor patio area.
So that's good, right? That's a long, plenty of room to queue.
20 cars here, I think we got up to like 30 before there was any issues going, not expecting that, but we did it, within the actual traffic study, we did a calculations, when it comes to, the queue, and that's based on service time. We used the industry average for Starbucks for 37 seconds. Again, most of the time the queue starts actually from here, that's the driver of this. Sorry, here, this is the driver, because it's how fast you can actually get the food into your car. Going back, so again, probably almost doubling what we would need. For this, Starbucks has their own standards, they've analyzed and they've recognized some of the situations that happen at other locations, and they have their own set of standards, and we fall within that as well.
Anyone else have any comments before I, move over to the department head comments?
Yeah,
Dave,
just
Seth?
on the outside drive-through lane, that's the bypass lane, correct?
The outside here,
Yes.
yes, the bypass lane, it's a 12 feet.
So when you're
bigger
coming
zero.
around to where the Starbucks is, you both lanes stop at the same place, right?
Correct.
It looks like it probably could be marked better as a better merge, because you're gonna have people coming head to head probably at some time.
Where are you
At the
talking?
end where they both stop
Talking
after.
right here.
Yeah, right
Where-
there.
Where that
Is that
right
the only-
lane
is that
bangs
the-
into the dumpster, you mean?
So they both wanna go together. I'm just looking at it and they're saying the other, that's the dumpster pad right there, right? Dry double trash. So you really can't drive straight from the far right lane because you're gonna be hitting into the trash area. So really, the only thing you can come out of the left lane pretty easily. I'm wondering if you can make it so you can come out of the right lane easily as well.
So it's a 12-foot lane, it is pretty wide.
No,
And it's-
understood, but look how
Right,
far
so,
is
so,
it from the
so
stop
these
to the
are just
right?
showing the doors cracked open just for,
Understood.
location, so they're actually gonna be flush in line with that curb line. So if you were to meander off, you would hit it just like you would hit the curb.
So there's a curb before the doors, correct?
Correct. Yeah, so that concrete pad, it's on grade with the parking, the drive, this is the drive.
It's the same level,
Yeah, you'll be able to drive right over that.
right over that concrete pad.
Yep,
And
that's it.
the other thing too, Sal, is that the cars are gonna be stopped at the pickup window there,
Yes.
so someone needs to merge.
That's what I said, it's a merge, but at least you can go straight, you're avoiding, you're both going at the same time trying to cut over. If that far right, I would even, if that could be pushed up a little bit, it'd give them more maneuvering room, so you wouldn't have as much of a problem if you even did have a problem.
Almost take it at an angle,
Yeah, and.
kinda like what we're doing down here.
Yeah, just get it so they're both stopped at the same, but the left has real clean access, whereas the right, you go a few feet and you see a concrete pad, you might not necessarily drive over it, even if the doors are closed.
Right, and that's something if we wanted to go at an angle, I don't think that's something, I do want to say that it's gonna be a rarity if that ever came.
Right, I'm just saying, make it easy,
Yeah. Yeah, but there's plenty of space, if you
Yeah,
were to
that's
make
the
that
stuff, main
maneuver,
obstacle, yeah.
you can actually move it through here pretty
See what I'm
quickly.
Right here.
Yeah.
They both, if they at least had a little bit more room so they could be a little bit, they're not both trying, even if they went the same time, they'd have money.
Well, I don't mean to sound dense, although I am, are you having,
That's the
So are they-
driving lane.
Okay,
Not
so
the
what's,
pickup lane. That's if you go around the building, you make a mistake, okay, and you wanna go around the whole property and get out again.
oh, okay,
So that's the mistake lane.
okay.
And people that make mistakes
I
usually
didn't know
are in
if
a
it was
hurry.
those, don't, like at McDonald's, when you have
No.
the two, order windows, that's what I was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
they're not
pickup,
two
one
order
pickup and
windows.
order.
It's just one order window.
Throw the coffee over the lane.
Yeah, yeah, that's all.
I think if you make a mistake, you
Just
have
don't
to
make
stay in
that
the
curve
queue.
and at the dumpster so sharp.
What's that, John?
Yeah,
It's not curving.
That curving at the dumpster,
yes,
just angle that a little bit.
that's what I said.
It's under flush conditions, so within 20 feet, heading straight out, there will not be a curve, there'll be no obstruction. That concrete pad that's shown is part of the trash enclosure is in a flush condition.
But what I'm saying is, can you cut some of that gray concrete out?
No, actually, we wanna keep
You wanna
that.
keep it
We
gray?
we wanna keep that actually in its location, that's actually part of the pickup. You get those dumpster, the actual bins that are there, rolled out in a pickup scenario, so you need to have the actual,
Oh,
yeah, that's part of the concrete pad, otherwise
How
you're
about
gonna
if
have
you shift the
asphalt.
whole
walking.
pad a little bit?
The trash truck is gonna have to come in here and
No,
just go
right. But how about if you shift the pad forward a little bit? Another, how far is it from that stop line to the start of the pad, just curious?
From here to here?
Yeah.
No, to the right.
To here, to the property lines, just
No,
under 10
no,
feet.
to the, you had it right,
Approximately 10 feet.
about 10 feet, right, so,
But if me and you were driving, you would not be able to, they're just gonna be a little more prominent, but the curb line and that dumpster will be perfectly in line. So if you were, you
Oh,
basically.
no, I understand what you're saying, I'm just saying, can you push the whole pad over a little bit? Another 4 or 5 feet?
Towards the right of way that we need to request a waiver from? Not
No,
possible.
is that the right of way on
Yeah,
here, or is
so
that
this,
snow storage?
so you had the snow, you're talking to the north?
Talking to the north.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can move the snow storage around a little, that's not an issue. Again, we want it to be perfectly aligned though, with that front drive aisle. So
Right,
it's
but I
pick
mean,
up- it's
like,
pick up-
see, what I'm thinking is, and it makes, not make sense, but just to gain a few feet, you push it.
Yeah, the problem is, and what we're seeing a lot of too, is pickup. The providers, they wanna have now, they wanna have a clear shot, they wanna have 50 feet clear shot. As soon as you start moving it south, you actually interfere with that. So this is only a 24-foot drive aisle, so as soon as you start moving that in here, that becomes an issue of operation. So
I understand.
the trash enclosure location has been ideally picked, just so it's an easy pickup, it doesn't interfere with on-site circulation.
Can I say something? If we can get in and out of the current
I know.
Starbucks
I
that we
don't,
have,
I don't even bother.
and we approve, well,
That's right, I know.
I don't know who's on the
No,
board
I'm not
that,
saying
you
that,
and
I'm
I
just, I
were,
want
we
it to flow
approved
really
that.
well, because I know,
Yeah.
It reminds
I
me
just
of
wanted to flow well, that's
the
all.
development across the street in front of the Lowe's, where the Aroma Joe's and
Right,
that.
yeah,
and that,
right.
It's kinda, it's landlocked, the traffic is locked into a really tight space.
Well, it's same with the,
know.
same with the, and
Parking
there's
between
another,
those two buildings,
and
it's
you might
rough.
wanna think about this too, because the credit union across the street, which Jason is talking about, with the Aroma Joe's or whatever it is, they made those aisles so tight that you couldn't take a pickup truck around those aisles, and, we said, wait a minute, these aisles aren't to the width we approved, so we made them change the aisles again, so we wanna make sure those aisles to the bank and the ATM, cause you're gonna have different aisles for the ATM and drive-up window, right?
12, 12, 12, it pitches down here,
How
12
about on
feet,
the
11
corners?
feet,
Are we
12
gonna,
feet,
are they
12
gonna make
feet.
the corners easier?
So it'll be
You got
20,
12
it'll be 24, it'll actually have two-way drive, basically abilities. We obviously signed it the other way, but these will be ample spaces to make maneuvers. So at this point here, you're at a 24, plus you're starting to get the radius.
Yeah.
So it is a big, drive, it's with meeting compliance.
I just wanna make sure it's not like
Yeah.
what happened across the street,
No,
because
we-
that became a nightmare.
We made sure site circulation on this application was the number one focus. Kind of hearing all the review.
Couldn't get it 2003.
I know. And the other thing is, we can't micromanage
No,
these
no, I
drivers.
think it's, yeah,
They're gonna just have
I
to be,
agree.
it is,
It is what it is.
it is what-
And I think the Jungle Road
Let
extension.
me just,
thing is another
read the
thing.
department head
That's not-
comments. Building inspector approves. Fire says, will the sign provide vertical clearance of 13.5 per 527, per the CMR?
It will.
And will the turn radiuses of 25 feet Will there be he's just making sure that they comply with the Code of Mass Regulations. Police, please provide periodically update of contact information for any owners, managers who would respond in the event of an emergency. We know you'll do that. Health, grease traps, interior, exterior must comply with the Board of Health regulations, and they attach those, and I know you have them. Need a detailed kitchen plan, all dumpsters must be on concrete pad and be fully enclosed. Assessor approves. DPW approves. Elizabeth?
Yeah, my big question was, are there loading bays proposed, and if there are, where are they?
Loading bays, or we're talking actual?
Loading for
Loading
the,
docks.
There's no loading docks as far as designated loading areas. Right now, we have plenty of space in the actual drive-through lane. We keep that circulation going through.
You said about, how about supplies coming into the location?
The banks will be loaded through the front doors, they have controlled access.
Yep.
I don't wanna speak to exact
No,
operations.
banks is different,
The
yeah.
retail would have little to no deliveries, just based on the size. And then the actual restaurant, the Starbucks, they would most likely pull across the front in non-operating hours to load and or within the bypass lane. Whatever the operations team thinks is gonna be the best way to do that. Again, trying to reduce impervious cover by a designated loading spot.
Alright, so, there's another comment from police dated the same time, I believe. On review, I have safety concerns with the intersection on Jungle Road where it meets the shared driveway with the Walmart driveway. The increased traffic at that intersection with turning vehicles will increase the potential for crashes. There are factories further up Jungle Road along with a quarry which causes heavy traffic to pass by, heavy truck traffic to pass by. I am not trying to cancel or delay the project, I just feel an independent traffic study that focuses on parking lot intersection with Jungle Road with the idea of crash mitigation is warranted.
I second.
That's the latest from police department,
Yes.
And I think that, speaking of the other intersection, not the one at the top, where it comes out from 117.
So we're talking here?
Yes.
So we're just to be very clear, everyone is, we are
Yes.
reutilizing the existing drive that is there, there's making no modifications to that. That driveway's in place, and which is aligned with the driveway across the way, which is a good cross-access circulation flow, for this.
I'm just telling you that's
Yeah,
the intersection.
I understand,
I'm not
Is it
speaking for the
spots
police,
highlighted
but
under
you're
areas of
adding
concern?
significant traffic, what I expect would be significant traffic to that existing roadway, which then does have an impact on it without making any structural changes.
And so just the applicant's understanding is we are offering potentially striping to calming, or the striping at this intersection, which I think we all can agree is not impact, but what we can do is nothing to impact this situation, is a it's a Y intersection that is a little unique in its own methods. So I think these are the two areas. We've offered two solutions that don't require a peer review, because the peer review essentially is gonna tell you that these two areas, as the police department say, will get additional traffic, there's no denying that. This intersection here, and this intersection as designed by countless other developments up and down the border, functions operationally, and the impact from this development will not change that. So we're proposing several different options, to the board, to slow and calm, I think the measure is calming, traffic through that area.
I wondered if you had a discussion with the police department about what you're looking at, a proposal for calming devices, because I know they work in a lot of places. Maybe they would, take away a full-blown traffic study and just think of what that would do or impact to the, because you get the cross traffic from the Walmart parking lot, right?
Yep.
That's the big one. And another problem we have is right on Jungle Road, that back little one-lane road that has a one-hole bridge about 200 yards up the street there, and we have a lot of people that live in there as
Two of
well.
us who are right behind it on that.
Yeah, so, I mean, the police department, naturally, we're gonna come up with a solution for that piece of Jungle Road, but we didn't wanna add anything on this piece, and maybe some calming effects or a discussion with the police department to see exactly what they would like. would behoove you guys,
That is not a problem. That is
you
not a
know? And then, you know, cause we can always continue it until we get that, until we find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Do they want a full-blown thing, because we're usually pretty strict about what our department heads say.
Yeah, no, very
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Need a rotary, man.
No, you don't need to.
No,
This would not
that's
work.
the state, you know, they work in some places really well,
Traffic circle.
you know, they're really
Okay.
good.
Okay, does the board have any other
Yeah.
questions or
I'm
comments?
good with questions.
You know, open up to the audience, anyone have any questions? Oh, I think, John, yes, you're better looking in person than on the phone, yes.
Really?
So I'm just saying, what kind of traffic did you see coming from Old Mill? Because I see a lot of people gonna cut through.
We already cut through, John, we already cut through all
But how
that.
many more will do that?
But, well, you gotta be a native
And I know
to
we have all
really,
the answers, but something that a traffic study could tell us, which would be helpful
Yeah.
to know. Yes, I agree.
I think there's studies somewhere already, but, yeah, that's why, let's work with
And
this.
cause the way that is situated, you're gonna have people coming from, Route 12, cutting across down Old Mill, so they miss the light,
Well, you will.
hit Starbucks, and then go back out to 190. And that's gonna be, increase that traffic in there, I think that's
It'd be
where
easy
you
to
should
go
start
190 from this.
It's not gonna be 28 trips now.
Well, we know that, but.
That's a lot more than 28 trips.
So the people already going to the intersection?
No,
Speaking
he's
of
talking
coming
about
from-
coming out of Old Mill Road.
Two ways
Old
off
Mill
the
Road
map.
needs a solution one way or
So
another.
Old Mill to here?
Correct.
Okay.
And
So
then
there's-
People cutting through to here?
So
No.
there's two scenarios,
It's
right?
just-
Everybody on their way to work is coming this way, they're gonna hit Starbucks before they get on the highway.
Right.
Everyone coming from this part of town is gonna come through here to hit Starbucks before they jump on the highway.
Correct.
And that's, I think that's the board's concern.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
The solution
That's
has
not
to be on
really
Old
within
Mill
your
Road,
control.
not on what's going on here. I know this adds, you know, it's like Christmas shopping, you know, you go to Walmart during Christmas time, you get an insane crowd in there.
I know you're an expert in this, but I live there, I see what happens.
No, I'm just
I'm
saying,
telling
that
you.
the solution for Old Mill Road has to come from the city because you can't change the railroad bridge. So they either make it one way,
Yeah, we've been through that.
I know, and that's
It ain't gonna happen.
I know it's not gonna happen, but it should happen. Just because you say it ain't gonna happen.
That's a separate matter.
But it's a separate matter, it's right, it's a different matter.
Yeah.
So this isn't, I don't know, I don't think this is gonna affect
Yeah,
it.
we're just, that's all we're saying. We're not trying to dissipate what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're just saying it's gonna get us to all the results that we know it's gonna lead to without really resolving it. We'd rather work with the police department, to your point, to have a solution to the property rail.
Let's have that discussion and then, you know, we'll carry it from, in my opinion, we'll carry it from there. But that was just one,
Yeah, no, well,
you know, but that makes sense.
fine waiting for that information, I'm still probably gonna want it done, but I'm okay.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Let's open up to the audience, anyone have any questions, comments, criticisms, compliments about the project?
No,
I tried to keep it.
Thank you. Eventually it'll be great.
I had a college professor, any questions, comments, criticisms? I added the compliments
That's
too.
a nice thing.
No one? Jungle Road, no one?
No coffee drinkers?
You know,
Bankers?
not for me anyways.
Can you disclose which bank is going? Okay, that's fine, fair enough, just being nosy.
It's local, from my understanding.
We're not, you know, we're not.
I know what it's not going to be,
Just
because it'd be too close to
That's
others,
right.
but it's not gonna be DC or San Diego.
No.
All right, what's the board's pleasure, keeping it open?
I make a motion to keep it open
Let's
and,
resolve this traffic question
to,
before we move forward.
yeah, let's get some cooperation between the developer and the police department, see what would make sense in there, and see if we can get some good ideas.
So our
and-
next meeting is May
May first.
1st, do we have something yet, 6:30?
Yeah, something at 6:30.
And that gives you time to work with these guys.
At
Maybe
May
it's
first,
a
we
thing.
have the subdivision regulations at 6:30.
Okay, so I move we table to May 1st at 6:35.
Second.
Motion made and second to schedule this continued public information meeting on the site plan at Jungle Road for May 1st at 6:35. Motion made, second by Pat.
Yes.
All those in favor, roll
It's
call
not a
vote.
bad thing.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
Yes.
Sal Chaconi.
Yes.
John Souza. John Souza.
They might ask if it is.
Yes.
Tom Kerrigan,
Yeah.
excused. Jason Parre. Dean Valier, excused. Carol Vittorioso. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes.
Simple ideas, you know?
That's ridiculous.
That-
And the directive is that the developer work with the police department to resolve concerns over traffic.
Mitigation results, mitigate traffic.
We'll address some of these other comments too.
Looks good, thank you.
Yeah, good job.
Comments from the
Great
boards
job.
too?
And all, and all
Yeah,
Mill Road,
we'll be incorporating as much as we can.
both sides,
What's that?
all Mill Road too, both sides. Right, not just coming off the highway, but from the back way.
Where the police department's.
Yeah, just wanted to be clear.
That's okay. Thank you guys. I'll
Thank
see
you very
on May
much.
1st.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the regular meeting, what? Oh, regular meeting, 1.0 call to order.
Patrick Perla.
Here.
Paul Weiser.
Here.
Sal Chaconi.
Here.
John Souza.
Yeah,
Tom Kerrigan, excused. Jason Parre.
Here.
Dean Valier, excused. Carol Vittorioso. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes, here, hello.
Sal is distracted.
He's always distracted. 25 years he's been distracted.
35 years today.
Okay, is it really?
Yeah.
2.0 minutes of previous meeting, not at this time. 3.0 plan submitted, none.
Wow.
4.0 old business, site plan application for 8 Mohawk Drive, warehouse addition. What?
Well, after we resolved the height thing, cause I looked at it initially too and I was flabbergasted that it was 120 feet tall and I was like, there's gotta be something, that can't be right. And
Always
Arbitrary.
thinking it's-
so,
It's an
it looks, I think it looks fine.
100-foot base.
Any,
You know, it's called a cell tower.
Right.
any conditions?
And there were no waivers either.
No waivers.
Was there a landscape plan? I think we had already gone through all of that. I think the only thing outstanding we have was the elevation.
I mean, I'll make a
Drawings,
standard
right.
motion that we
Department head
approve,
comments.
subject to all department head comments, and
Yeah.
that Elizabeth review the final plan before.
Second.
There you go.
I think we just have a corrected drawing come back to Elizabeth.
Say that one more time, John?
I said it can have a condition, just have a corrected drawing come back to you.
Corrected drawing.
Get rid of the 100. To amend the drawing. Yes.
Yeah, I meant it.
Start at 0.
Amend the drawing to reflect the appropriate elevation.
Well, I think they did that. They just used the baseline, right. Let them use the baseline on the topo maps.
Whatever. Okay,
All right, do we have a motion?
that's the
We have a
motion.
motion?
And second.
And second? Okay, all those, and no conditions, no waivers?
Well, just the normal, whatever department head comments,
Okay. Motion
I
made,
don't think
second.
there were any waivers, right?
no waivers.
Elizabeth, there weren't any waivers on that.
No.
No waivers.
No.
Motion made, second. All those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
Yes.
Sal Chaconi.
Yes.
John Souza.
Yes,
Tom Kerrigan, excused. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Dean Valier, excused. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes. New business, 5.1, site plan application for 840 North Main Street, reconfigure parking area.
I thought that was a real nice plan. They did ask for one waiver, right? Or a couple waivers.
we have to go over the waivers.
There's
Yeah, we
10
have
of
to
them.
do the waivers.
There are 10 waivers.
10 of them?
10 of them. I can highlight each one as we go if you want.
Okay.
The first one is section 22-62.1 pertaining to the requirement that a storm runoff analysis be conducted.
That's
So they
it.
reduce
do you
the
wanna do-
impervious
do you wanna-
surface, so.
So you wanna do them one at a time?
Yes,
As we go through them?
Well, let's go through all of them and see if, unless there's one we are opposed to, then we can take them on block, it'll be easier.
Absolutely.
So I have a motion to take them in block.
Second.
Motion
Motion made.
Motion made, second, to take them in block. All those in favor, roll call vote?
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
Yes.
Sal Chaconi.
Yes.
John Souza.
Yes,
Tom Kerrigan, excused. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Dean Valier, excused. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes. Okay, we did storm water, we've done the storm runoff analysis. Second one is pertaining to property boundaries, ownership, and the use of properties within 300 feet. Anyone have any comments about that? Okay, the next section,
Why didn't they do that?
Do what? Do what?
Why didn't they notify the people within 300 feet?
They're not, you don't have to notify them, you have to put them,
site plan,
you have to put them on the plan, description.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a notification.
next section, they're asking to have waived pertaining to a 15-foot landscaped buffer required. Any comments?
No,
There isn't one now.
There isn't one.
right, and they're
Next.
gonna create some sidewalk
Some
on the
green
other
space.
side.
Next waiver they're seeking is pertaining to the requirement that no parking be permitted within the front yard setback of a structure. Any comments?
That's because they have.
That's grandfathered.
So that's great.
Next section, seeking a waiver is pertaining to the requirement of bicycle racks. Yeah. Next section is pertaining to the requirement that lighting must maintain a 1-foot candle level.
There was no proposed change to the lighting, was there?
No.
So,
Okay, so. Next section, they're seeking to waive is pertaining to the location, size, height, orientation, and design of outdoor lighting. No comments?
there
Next.
wasn't.
Next
What did
section,
they do different on that?
No,
I don't think
Not
they
that-
did any at all, John. They're keeping the lightings the way they are on the building. It's just squaring off the lot.
Why do they need a waiver?
I don't know,
maybe they
so many spaces.
well, maybe they've never complied with it, so they're gonna continue to not comply with it.
They wanna be
Sounds like
Right, I think
grandfathered.
we have an opportunity to get them to fix it. You get parking lots, I want that parking lot lit.
I think the parking
I don't
lot
think
is
there's not any lighting, I think it has to do with the
Right.
location, size, height, orientation, and design.
spilling over the.
I mean, I don't, the next two sections have to do with outdoor lighting and lighting standards.
And we didn't bring anything up in the actual
Yeah,
hearing,
I
so
mean,
I
I
thought
think
we
if-
can
yeah.
start questioning that now.
That's, and 10 is pertaining to the requirement to submit a traffic impacts statement.
The same traffic, so it's just across the street. And the lighting, John, I think the lighting there is already really pretty good for the operation they run there. It must be good. I don't know, I haven't been by it
Okay.
at night.
That
Yeah,
lot is
and
a mess and this is gonna improve the way it looks.
It's just
They're just reconfiguring the parking.
And it's gonna reduce
I mean, you have
people cutting
lights
the corner.
from
Yeah.
North Main, you have
Yeah,
lights from
across the
Nichols,
street.
you have lights from across the street.
Okay,
Okay.
I make a motion to accept the waivers in block.
second,
Motion made and second to accept the waivers. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
yes.
Sal Chaconi.
Yes.
John Souza.
Yes.
Tom Kergnen, excuse. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Jean Valier, excuse. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes. All right, any conditions?
There were just department head comments, just,
And then Elizabeth reviewed a final plan for,
Okay.
Yep.
So do I have a motion to approve
so moved.
second,
with those conditions attached? Motion made by
So.
Sal, second by Paul, with the conditions attached. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
yes.
Sal Chaconi.
Yes.
John Souza.
Yes.
Tom Kergnen, excuse. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Jean Valier, excuse. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes. 5.2, site plan application for 10 Jungle Road. That has been continued to May 1 at 6:35.
Did we end up requesting a, traffic study?
So
Yeah.
request to have him communicate with the police department.
Correct.
He still may do a traffic study.
We haven't concluded that yet, yes.
I really think we should ask for traffic study.
I do too, but that may come on in May 1st.
Yep, let's see what the
see what the police
recommendation
look at.
is from the traffic department, and see where they're focusing, John, and then we can figure out what we need to do.
Okay.
But I still agree with you.
I know. I know it's-
6.0 communications, Day Street subdivision, Sawyerway, New England Land Company, planning board to determine next course of action. So I assume this is why the majority of our public is still here, which is great.
Thank you,
So
neighbors.
you want me to update you from last week?
And thank you all for.
What happens, well, this is what so the last time we,
It was March sixth.
we took whatever money we could from them, we submitted a letter. There's been discussion, and I don't think this has to be in an executive session. You have to always remember about executive session.
Not at this point.
Well, not at this point, but the other thing is, you're never erring on the side of caution when you say things in public, because we don't wanna violate the open meeting law. So when we all get nervous, oh, there should be an executive session, we should get nervous if it should be in the open section, so that's why. So then there was discussion about whether or not to litigate, I think that's something we're discussing, but the last thing we did, Elizabeth, my recollection is you sent a second letter to
The
the developer, right?
stating that the city's going to execute the $84,000 roughly in funds being held as a financial surety.
And we're $100,000 short.
A little more than
A little,
103,
Yeah.
104.
it was 182,000 by the DPW, plus the deeds, so it's gonna be more than that.
And what happened at the, I wasn't here at the last
So
meeting,
no,
what happened then?
we knew we had started the process.
Yeah.
And, these
voted
people have been so patient
I
about
know.
us start, where are we in the process, what's been done, and we said, Carol was gonna work with Elizabeth on some of that, she's our legal representative
Well, when we
as well.
sent the
That's right.
second note, the required notice to
Yep.
them, we haven't
We
received
sent a
any,
notice to the treasurer to release them,
the
get the
funds.
money, there's some difficulty there, but I don't have a final update yet.
What was the difficulty?
Just keep. Our
Making-
treasurer,
What's
right?
this, what's this?
Yes, finding the right people to work with on the bond.
If I may, I think if I recall, perhaps one of the next steps may have to be in the hands of the city council in regards to the street status. And that could be another hurdle,
Whether it's accepted.
correct?
There was gonna be litigation too.
Buff, right, so say that the litigation avenue is not taken. The avenue would have to be to have the street accepted prior to the DPW's taking on the project to complete.
Well, we have to, and we're required to do that by law,
Or get the permission of the property owner,
which
Which.
If
the
we-
developer to.
if we communicated with them, we'd be in a different spot, so.
Right.
So that's the anything else?
So-
Because then I'll turn it over to the
Right.
audit, to
Yep.
the
No, I think we're pretty caught up on to where we were.
homeowners.
So.
You've got the
182
mayor's
to do the
request.
fixes.
Yeah,
We're
in front of
holding 80, we're
Correct.
working to keep 80.
84 is it? 84.
We need to figure out if the street's accepted, and if not, we need to get
It's
it
not
accepted.
accepted.
And then we need to come up with another $100,000, whether that means litigation or
Where the city pays for it.
if we spend $100,000 to sue them, we might as well. But that's not for us to.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So can we,
You've got
Is-
the request from the mayor, dated March 7th, that's in front of you.
so do we,
Probably read that.
oh yeah, I recall that, that's correct. So are we,
Legal action.
so should we communicate with our city solicitor and have them advise us whether it's gonna be worth our while to,
That could be, the next directive of the board is for me to do that.
I think we should do that.
I'll make that motion.
Well,
I thought we already did that. I thought we had already.
We sent
Worth our while, meaning, do you think we're gonna win the case?
No, whether the.
I think we need to I think we need to, I don't know, so I think we need their input in terms of, we should tell them that we want to make a claim against them for the balance, and then they'll,
I think the motion is that we should proceed with litigation against the company, via, KP law.
but in conjunction with that, should we
City solicitor.
should they be petitioning, well, should city council be
Simultaneously.
working on
I
accepting
think
the
that's a
street,
question for KP law too.
you
I don't
know?
know what the right.
I
So
think
we
that'll
do it at
come
the
along
same
later
time,
on.
or is there an order?
so why don't we, I think, I think the last consultation we received from KP Law, they said that the street had to be accepted.
Or
First.
it was accepted, or get the permission of the developer to do the work on the property.
I know, but they haven't
Problem is, the
responded.
road has
It's
to be accepted,
accepted or get permission.
so you
Until
spend
it's up to grade.
$184,000.
Right.
So if we get it accepted, we gotta.
We don't have the other 100, well, figure. So, in order to, and the staff of two to get the
This
$100,000.
paragraph, yeah, that's when they say that litigating, she's saying
She's
it's,
saying it's expensive.
it is, but,
They contested and the one case on point is 50 years old.
And,
So it'd be better just to accept it.
so Sal, just to refresh our memory from the last meeting, I think all the neighbors are here because we talked about asking about communication between the neighbors and the builder.
Which would have strengthened our case.
Yes,
That's right.
I got a
So-
couple of emails
We did.
from neighbors, yes.
okay, so so,
Just wanted to enter those in the
They
record.
All right.
share the
so let's
communication.
open it up to them, so we'll answer any questions you can, obviously, you know that we're all in we're in agreement with we anticipate you're gonna tell us, but it comes down to dollars and cents at this point, since we're more than $100,000 short, but, yes.
My name's Sean Ravetti. I do have a question. That $100,000, is that just for the paving, or does that include the streetlights, the
Granite
curbs, the,
It's not earmarked to any specific amount,
It
is the
includes-
sidewalk gonna be extended through the cul-de-sac? Is there gonna be signage? Is there gonna be a guardrail for the drop-off?
She's got the estimate.
she's gonna, do you wanna read them that email from DPW?
It includes finish the top coat of pavement, install 100 feet of sloped granite curbing and 200 feet of vertical granite curbing, clean 2 detention basins and make them functional, prepare asphalt and street acceptance plan and install street bounds. All deed work must be complete.
And that totals
That totals 182,000.
So the answer's
That
probably
was the
no.
estimate.
Cause right now, I mean, we have kids in the neighborhood that have to get down to the end of the street or the schools, they have to walk in the road. There's no signage
If they're
or
on the
anything.
sidewalk, they could fall over that ledge.
Yeah, that's.
There was a sidewalk on that plan.
Yeah, but they're talking about the rail because of the.
Right, we're just wondering if that,
Complete.
if the $180,000 estimate from the DPW included everything on the original plan to get it up to snuff on what we accept, you know, what the
But
plan
it doesn't
was.
sound like it does.
And it just, we're saying that it probably doesn't
Yes, it
sound.
did.
You think so?
Even with the guardrail?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what they looked at?
I just read the list,
Okay.
that's what
Yeah,
was.
But I didn't hear a guardrail on that list.
No.
And I didn't hear lighting on that list.
Right.
So I think the answer is no, John.
So it's a
Well, we
big
don't know.
liability.
No, no, but see, since that you can't add to it now. We only can
Why
go
not?
to the
Well, if it
plan
was
as
part of
it
the
exists.
approval, you can.
No.
Add anything is a separate issue with
What?
the city.
I don't think they were adding anything.
And the
What?
DPW.
Was it part of the original
We only can go
conditions?
to what was on the original plan.
On the original plan, correct.
Let's assume there was a guardrail.
I'm having a hard time thinking
Drop-off
that wasn't
or
included.
Yeah, I would think that
River.
all of those things, we need to check the
Alright,
original
so
plan.
let's, hold on.
So you
Yeah.
guys are talking about a guardrail as you enter Sawyer Way to the right? There's a retention
Yeah.
wall there? Is that
Where
what-
that
Yeah.
sidewalk is, and where our kids walk to, Sean's got little ones walking to Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah.
Same as Renata, my girls walk down to the bus.
Across from the houses?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
steep, just
Yeah.
wetlands drop off.
And after, off the sidewalk, there's actually maybe a foot section. It all slopes down toward that, it's all gravel, then it hits the concrete block and it just drops straight off.
Yeah.
And it's a big liability if anyone goes off there. I walked past there.
Could you state your name for the record?
Carolyn D. Pasquale. I walked past there, it's right across from my house, with my dog and my grandkids constantly. And there's a lot of broken trees and things, so if somebody falls there, they're gonna get impaled on a broken tree or something, and then it's all rocks, and there's some trash and stuff down there, but it's a straight drop off, and to get out of it, if you could move after you fell off of there, it's all raspberry bushes, brush,
Yeah,
you're not
it's-
gonna be able to climb up the
It's not easy to get out of there if you fall down in there.
The other concern is too, is we have a lot of wildlife that crosses the street there and stuff. if somebody was trying to avoid a deer in their car, they swerve and their car goes down there, you're not getting the car on there. But, I can give you a little bit of background on this, the land development, this is the first time I came to this meeting, I just learned about it, Sean had left a note in everyone's mailbox last week. So I went on the registry of deeds and the corporations and blah, blah, blah. And, Gary Litchfield had the, New England Land Development Company.
Yeah.
He, is the one that, my understanding, did the original development there. He sold most of the land, I believe 9 parcels, to Brian Carlson, who did my house and a lot of the other neighbors. He had, I believe 3 parcels of his own, and, it's number 41, 56, and 66 Sawyer Way, and that was under the New England Land Company. In 2008, he transferred that to Litchfield Company Incorporated. He deeded it over to his other company, which has been active since 1991. And then he didn't file with the New England Land Company. He did not continue filing his annual report after 2013. And so that was dissolved in 2016, but 2015, there was a taking from the city of Leominster because he didn't pay his taxes. And I could not find anything after that because it's a defunct company, so city of Leominster, I guess, it doesn't appear that they've been collecting taxes since then, so.
So
City of Leominster, do they own it, the street
So
now,
you're
or
talking-
is it
so-
remaining?
you're talking about the wetlands parcel that's under the name New England Land Company.
Yes, there were
It's-
2 parcels.
It's the
yeah,
undeveloped lot.
And it
that-
says a street.
Yeah.
So,
And looks like there's a right of way out onto Day Street between a couple of houses there.
yeah,
But yeah,
so,
it's the wetlands where the retention pond is.
Where
So-
there's not a guardrail, right?
So I wonder if
Walking
Phil
in and out
had,
of
should put
business.
Guardrail.
but I wonder if
I think that,
those
so-
make the
It's-
retention ponds useful.
he's got 3 or 4 companies. He
Right.
goes around the state, you know, doing these development companies, and then it appears, if you look at his history, it appears that once he's done with them, he doesn't file his annual reports and they go away, but he has, I have a whole list of companies that he presently has active. But he's always, the Litchfield Company, he's had active since 1991. So I think this is what he funnels into when he's done with these other things, he keeps that one active. So, I mean, I don't think that he has any interest in getting back to anybody about anything with this, and if he hasn't paid taxes, it doesn't appear to me from what I could find on my search that he ever even acknowledged, you know, the takings on the land, so.
Okay.
But the street is a mess, I mean,
It is.
this past winter, even though it wasn't a bad winter because it couldn't be determined who was going to plow, I know some of the neighbors graciously did it, but there were a couple days where it's just nothing but ice. You know, we didn't get much snow, but it was slippery. And there are a lot of kids, all the kids going to either get the bus or going to Johnny Appleseed School, you know, in the morning and the afternoons and.
So do you guys not get city plows?
This, I'm
It's
Keegan
touchy.
Manchester, I live at 61 Sawyer Way. I started coming to the meetings a few months ago, and these ladies have been wonderful communicating with me, and I kind of got the rest of the neighborhood on board, but up until this year, I've never seen the city plow the street, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean. Sean and my husband passed away that was kind of pushing Gary Litchfield. I don't have access to Tim's emails anymore, and he had got Sean involved. But
And I
up
sent you
until
what
this
I
year, it was always private.
So not even
Like,
city
one year, I
contractors,
think it
you
was a
guys are
gardener
plowing your
spot.
own street?
It was,
No,
the Gardner spot, I think, was last year. I
The
think
gardener
yeah.
spot did it last year. I remember getting a letter saying, because there was issues with cars, there's cars on the street, you know, people park, they just really do whatever. One time I had a cop tell me they didn't even know the street was there. So kind of anything goes. There was a stolen car, remember that?
Yeah, it was parked
Yeah.
out in front of the house.
So this year, and you guys have been wonderful. John called me one day from his house in Florida, and we were getting a snowstorm, and said that the city should be plowing the street. So we kind of took turns, you know, putting a bug in the DPW's ear and we did get our street plowed this year
Good.
for the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Carolyn said,
At the end.
towards the end of the season, you know, the first couple storms, I'm thinking like, oh, no one's plowing the street. And then I saw there was no money, for snow removal, and I'm thinking, how is that okay, you know, that's, oh, I know it's not.
No. You guys are not alone, there are accepted streets throughout the city, I'm thinking of, there's one off of Iris, Danielle or something like that. A similar situation, there were no city plows, and it's a safety issue, right? If people can't get in and out of their street, can't get to the hospital, you know.
That's
you
part
need
of it, I
a
mean,
city
this has
plow.
been going on since 2006, I heard at the last meeting, I couldn't come last month, Sean
17
came,
years.
which is disturbing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I lost my husband to a brain injury from a fall, and if one of those kids gets hurt on that street, $100,000 is gonna be the least of anyone's concerns.
So where can we take
I,
it to help them?
I think we should have and Elizabeth, I'm happy to join in on this phone call. It seems like the mayor's already approved it, but maybe you wanna double check. I think we should have a substantial conversation with the city solicitor about,
The feasibility of it?
about more, I think we need to be kind of strong, I think we should start with finding out who is responsible, and I think they should do the research with that Attorney DePasquale did. We should discuss with them, make sure the guardrail, or make sure through DPW, they have all of the,
Safety things.
all of the items that we need to have addressed. I think we have to determine what needs, John, can I finish please, John? Then I think we need to complete, determine how we get the road approved, regardless of whether or not we get their consent to have, to go on the property. I still think that the city should approve the road.
Yep.
And then, the first thing is, and I can't read my handwriting. So, going back to the city, these are all things we should discuss with the city solicitor. So I think that's what we should do, and then we should tell them, I think, cause in my opinion, I think the issue is who the responsible party is, and once we can determine that, then I think it's not as complex as
Right.
people make it out to be.
It's pretty straightforward, really.
Right.
I mean, he's been kind of skirting the issue for, you know, we started building our house in 2009 or 10.
It's been a long time.
While ours was being built, we used a different builder. I used Todd Rivers, who's also passed away at this point. But then while my house was being built, all these others came up, because ours took a little bit longer. I can't remember what my point is, but.
Well, it's not, because I think once we pinpoint the responsible party, who. John, do you have something to say? John?
Yeah, the only issue I see here, I think the guardrail at the bottom is a separate issue. And that should probably go to the city council, your ward council. And, they can take, and the DPW could take care of that.
Do we
That's
need to do a
outside
deep
of the
dive
plan.
into the building plan to see?
And then we'll go for the other stuff.
Is that part of
Okay,
it?
and John, I agree with you, if it was not if it was not a condition of approval, then, but that doesn't mean it still can't
Be done.
be done.
And the DPW.
Well, it should be done.
Well, we might be
Should
able
accept
to
the street.
go for, we might be able to go for expenses after, but I think at this point, for safety reasons, the city should go forward and correct that safety issue.
And they could accept the road too, so they can get it up to snuff.
The DPW.
Well, I think that's why I'm in conflict with JP Law, because how do you accept the road that's incomplete? That has all kinds
Well,
of
isn't that one
problems,
of
and
the
then we become
caveats of how
liable
you
for it.
go after them,
And
for the money?
that's a real problem.
I think you have to do
So
that
then
first.
we have to accept the road before we
We
litigate
need to
it.
ask them.
I think
That's
it's
right.
wrong.
You'd have to accept it said you had to accept the road before you litigate. So, the city should accept the road just to make it livable and safe for the people that are paying their taxes that live there. So what is the way to get the city to approve the road? Bottom line.
It sounds like we've already reached out to the builder, he's not
Reached out to
responding.
the city council.
So what is it, is it 3 strikes?
That's up to the DPW or the city council.
Well, yeah, but who's gonna petition them?
That's why we gotta ask the city
Well,
solicitor.
we can petition them. We can create a petition.
So, I mean, that's just one more tool.
We can create a
But
petition.
again, you need to
Okay,
follow the
to ask for
rules.
acceptance of the law,
Don't,
acceptance of
we
soil
shouldn't
away.
be doing petitions
Soil
until the
away.
city solicitor tells us.
Now,
that.
they're gonna come back and
I
say,
think we just-
"George,
I mean, the city solicitor is not a stranger to this issue. I mean, they've sent us detailed, comprehensive comments on how to proceed. So I think if we could just have another, I think if we had I'm happy to jump on with you, Elizabeth. I had a conference call with the city, with Amy, and tell her like what, these are the, these are the concerns.
Right.
And not give her a general overview, like give her specifically, like these are
Yes,
we didn't
want
have a
this,
condition of
this.
approval for a guardrail, whose responsibility is it? Is it the city's responsibility to put it in? I still think it should be put in, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but does the city not have like reserve when issues like this come up in their budget?
And I'm
Have we
just
pulled
gonna-
out the original site review?
Regardless of
Yeah,
whether
that's
there's
I'm just curious to
conditions.
know, to see what's on it
And
and what
part
the
of
conditions are, so we know what.
DPW's estimate was
we
to
approved
make the
when we did it.
detention pond usable, that might include a guardrail.
That's
I
right,
don't know
well,
what
I know, it
is.
might, it
That's what I'm
might.
saying.
that's right,
So
the site plan
possible
might have it.
for
If we looked at the site plan that was
The
approved,
subdivision.
the subdivision plan that was
DPW's
approved,
estimate may have included.
to see what the roadway looked like upon completion, you know, was there a guardrail there, wasn't there, cause.
There must have been.
I know it, there must
I
have
feel
been.
like
Take the truck into it.
he initially was going to build a house past yours on the left. There was supposed to be another lot, maybe two, at least one. And I think they realized that just was not feasible given the moisture and, you know, all the wetlands right there.
On the left.
Yours is kinda down as far as pretty much as you could go. I remember that, I think there were supposed to be 12,
Originally, in the original.
I know there's 2 lots that they didn't end up doing anything with. At least 2, or at least 1, I'm sorry, probably maybe 2. I can look through, you know, my husband was an engineer, kept very detailed notes of our whole entire process from start to finish. I have a huge binder with everything, and I can try to look through that as well and see what I can find. I mean, he literally kept everything.
So there's never been a formal petition though to accept the road, that
No.
you guys have made.
Well, like I said, my husband Tim was in contact with Gary Litchfield, and then and got Sean on board, but with no luck, you know what I mean? He didn't have any luck with that. And then after my husband passed away and it was COVID, like, it's something that in the last 6 months or so, I've just kind of put back on my radar as like, I need to get some closure on this. And we got more, when we built our house, our kids were really the only ones. You know, now there's a bunch of little kids, we've all got dogs, that drop off is just
So do you
not.
want a motion, Carol, what do you wanna do here?
I say we make a motion to authorize Elizabeth upon,
And
To
use-
Contact,
contact the city solicitor
And resolve these issues and report back.
well,
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then-
No, petition to fix it, put a guardrail up.
We
Well,
can do
that's
that
step
probably
one.
separately.
that's a
I
step.
think Elizabeth should have a separate conversation with DPW and see if it's included, and if it's not, then that's something we can discuss with the city solicitor.
I should talk to them first.
Okay.
Talk
With
to DPW
DPW, yes.
first, and then when I have that information, armed with that, I can go to the city solicitor.
And Chronicle.
We need to move this along.
Well, like I say,
It's only
more's
been
happened in
going
the
on
past
for 14
month than
years
has
now.
in 14
Really?
years.
I know, yeah.
I mean, I'd be.
But the step we're taking today, we could have taken 2 weeks ago, so we really need to move.
In terms of the funds that we have
It's
Can we take
questionable
any
as to
action?
whether,
now, and can we do whatever we want, like, I think we should, can we do whatever we want with the funds we have and go to the neighbor and say, what's the most important thing that needs to be addressed now? Is it the guardrail? And can we use That's my question.
Yeah, good, that's a great
You
question.
say we have
Yeah,
common
only-
access in the board?
Only if the guardrails on the original.
But we can't do any work unless the street's accepted or we have permission. We can't do any work unless one of the.
So we can take the bond, but we can't spend it.
Stuff for the kids.
Not unless-
They give us permission to spend it, the developer, or?
Again, that's a
See,
city
that's-
solicitor.
I think, so I think we need a motion to authorize
I'll make that motion.
Elizabeth, I mean, do we have to go through but you usually have to go through the mayor to speak to the city solicitor, but I'm taking from his email.
I can do a write-up about it and get a signature, he'll sign it.
Okay.
Or
You
does
can
he have
include
the
it in
authority
the
to
law.
accept the street, that's the city council.
We don't want this
Correct.
resolved.
So we'll make that motion.
Just to
And you
make it
have
more
on the list
formal.
for about street acceptance too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I approve road, street acceptance.
Yep. And how we.
You'll discuss with DPW
about
about the guardrail, but even, and say like, no, that wasn't included and it's not a condition, then that's a question for the city solicitor about who's
Yeah,
responsible to put it up, and then, and then also talk to them about hunting down the responsible party, which sounds like we could,
This is so typical of
This isn't the first
a
time
lot of
we've had to
developments, you
accept
know,
it.
especially in the
Unapproved
boom
street.
days of the
Yeah,
80s.
but you know what? And I'm tired of saying, oh, I'm sorry, there's
Yeah.
nothing we can do, we
That's right.
approve the plan and the developer left and that's it, and that's not, we have,
No.
at least we have 80,000,
That's right.
it's not enough, but at least we have something.
I can tell you all that we have actually fixed the process so that this shouldn't happen.
Ever again.
Not that that helps you guys now.
Appreciate that, just saying.
Alright, you have a motion.
I will be building.
Alright, well, so, I'll make that my, yes,
Oh,
Sean,
right, so we keep talking about Gary Litchfield, but
Right.
does Brian Carlson own any responsibility on this?
we
too?
don't,
Because
that's
he took it
enough,
over?
that's
Our
the
attorney's gonna have to
question
answer
we're
that
asking.
question.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think that.
but, yeah,
But we
Carol,
have
you
easements
should,
written
help
into all our
Elizabeth with some of the
deeds.
information you had, so that maybe that can be
Yeah, I
transferred to.
had sent Elizabeth.
Okay, great.
Some, I have tons of stuff, but I sent her
The
more
progression.
important stuff
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Okay.
follow up. And I also, an email and a, phone number for him. His office is in, Burlington, where that's where he works out of, and I know you had received a letter from
Where
the
it
attorney that
is.
is, the agent on some of his LLCs.
Yeah, I received his, one
Yeah,
letter,
he-
they were asking for money back.
Yeah, he
Oh, that's
doesn't,
right.
he
They
doesn't
wanted
seem
money
like a
back.
very, I did some research.
That's what triggered this whole,
Yeah, I did.
getting to this point.
I did some research on that attorney too, and I don't think he's
Yeah.
above board, so.
That's right.
Someone have a question?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, sir,
On the.
and your name, please, just
Antonio,
Antonio,
Calderon.
last name?
Calderon, thank you.
on the proposal of the PDW, do they, listed lighting as well?
No, they didn't.
Okay, that's another super safety thing, because it gets super
Is
dark and the way the street is, it's curved, it's really hard to see it at night, it's pitch black.
So,
don't
okay,
you have
so,
one of the things in your yard for?
His
light
basement,
source?
right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
just the
basement.
base, yeah.
And it's probably under the ground, the wiring, but they don't connect or do that until they finish the street, right? Until they
Yeah,
finish
that's
all.
not a straight
That's
shot to
another
the end of the
thing, you know?
cul-de-sac, it's like,
Oh, that's,
a curve.
you know,
So again, I think we need to review the original subdivision
Yeah.
plan.
yep,
And-
just to see what's missing that they should have provided, and to see what
Compare
needs to
that
be,
to the
you know, the
DPW
DPW
statement
gave
about-
us in
That
from
was
a
their
street
about-
acceptance perspective. But we have it, you know, what was approved on the subdivision.
The requirements in the subdivision plan.
Because in front of my yard, I have the base for the light poles.
Yep.
I mean,
Because I find it
I don't
hard to
know
believe
if
that
we have any more
$180,000 is
around,
gonna
but-
fit in lights, guardrails.
We always, and that was part of the
It might
requirements
it
for
might fill the
subdivision,
potholes
is to have the
there, to be
lights,
honest
The
with you.
the lighting itself, yeah.
That's what my
Okay,
concern is
so-
too.
The taking itself.
why don't we, before we take a vote, cause we'll do, I think the first thing should be, we should authorize Elizabeth, the planning department, and I'm happy to help, to review the plan that was approved and what was on the plan that had to be completed and any conditions attached to those. I think that should be, and then the second one is to consult with the city solicitor on accepting the road the guardrail goes hand in hand actually with what's on the plan, but we, and then also authorizing Elizabeth to speak to the DPW about what that budget included. And then also speaking to the city solicitor about,
Like, if we can do something with the money we've already taken.
and future litigation,
Okay,
And
that's the
street
motion.
acceptance.
alright? And street, yeah, I said that, and street acceptance.
That's my motion.
Second.
Did you get that, Steph?
Yeah.
Cause I didn't.
So if I was them, I'd be saying, okay, so when are we
Carol,
gonna?
tomorrow you'll follow up, you'll follow up with me this week?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we'll do that, definitely.
Okay, so we'll keep it on the agenda for next meeting.
For May first is our next
May
meeting.
1st. And hopefully we've got
We'll have some
more.
answers by then.
But, you know,
I know.
we're sick of this too, you know, and that's how he came, he asked for money. He asked for some money, that's how.
And I just happened to call and she said it's
Unreal.
actually on the agenda for this month and I'm like, that is a really strange coincidence because
Yeah.
I hadn't,
You didn't hear about it on the agenda and then call, you just called and
how,
then
I don't know about anything about the agendas.
Me neither.
I just happened to
Oh,
call.
that's a strange
Do we
coincidence.
need to vote?
It was, and that's
Motion
kind
was
of how,
made,
yeah.
Yeah, let me, sure, John, do you have any other comments?
No, just, I think that's a good move.
Okay,
Trick question.
alright, so Paul made that motion, did someone second it?
Yes.
Patrick?
Jason.
Jason second.
Jason, okay,
Yeah,
You can assist.
and we'll put on for May 1. Okay, so motion
May 1.
made second, all those in favor, roll call vote.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
Yes.
Sal Chaconi.
yes.
John Souza.
Yes.
Tom Kergnen, excuse. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Dean Valier, excuse. Carol Vittorioso.
Yes. Thank you, Sawyer.
Thank you guys for
Wait,
coming.
You know, we're gonna do anything we can.
Thank you.
I mean, other
And
than
for the record, this isn't the only street we're gonna be working on. We're gonna be hopefully going through
That's right.
Yes.
a number of
Others-
streets
That's right.
But
in
this
the
is
city. So if
first
anybody
street.
from the public is listening and you're worried about your street, you might be coming up in the future meeting.
But it's great that you guys showed up because it's.
This is the
Yeah.
first one, priority one.
Your street up to the top of the pile. The streets up.
Sounds
all
good.
over
If he
the
hadn't
city
asked,
that
if he
need to
hadn't
be fixed.
asked for his money back.
I know.
I can't believe.
I can't believe he asked for
They're really
money
getting
back.
desperate.
And
Well,
now,
because
and
it's
now,
not
of
the
course,
same
now we
company.
can't find him.
Right, it's
Right.
not the same
Yes.
company.
Who do we
Tell them you wanna send
recommend?
them a check.
Tell them to send you a check.
No response.
Come show up with your asphalt
Right.
truck and swear away and we'll write you the check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we didn't mention
guys.
it.
Thanks, thank you.
We're still in meeting.
We are.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
What's next?
Director's report.
Director's report.
Director's report, that was my director's report, that we're gonna be having more of these
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
coming forward.
Sale?
Okay.
Executive session, none.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, second to adjourn. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Patrick Perla.
Yes.
Paul Weiser.
Yes.
Sal Chaconi.
Yay.
John Souza.
No, okay.
No.
Tom
Yeah.
Kergnen,
No.
excuse. Jason Parre.
Yes.
Hey,
Dean
you might-
Valier,
you might be
excuse.
about
Carol
the next one.
Vittorioso.
Yes.